Hello, everyone. Welcome to Salty Sports Podcast Show, episode 22, the playoff preview edition. It's gonna be
Yeah,
it's gonna be a lot of fun
nice.
discussing these potential playoff candidates and the teams that are already eliminated. Already looking forward to next season with a slew of firings and whatnot. But go ahead and jump into what game should we start off with after from Week
So,
18?
so we're gonna get through the Week 18 review relatively quickly to give the playoff more focus. But I guess let's start with the NFC picture. And to start with the NFC picture, we'll start with we'll start with the games that more had impact than seeding, and then discuss the kind of the climax of the NFC picture in the battle between the Saints and the Niners. But to start, on Saturday night, the Dallas Cowboys played somewhat for nothing, but in the end, they were rewarded with a seed jump from 4 to 3. The Eagles had a COVID infestation and decided to scratch the rest of their healthy players in order to not risk injury for the postseason. Though they did have Jason Peters out for one play to keep the Iron Man streak going. As for Dallas, Dak Prescott and his receiving corps tore up easy opposition and made quick work of it for a very, very stellar offensive performance, putting up another 50 bomb and is the first scoregami of the year 2022. Uh, of course, with that win, Dallas was set up in position to move up the seeding, and Tampa Bay also put themselves in position to move up the seeding with a victory over the Carolina Panthers. They would jump from 3 to 2. Um, but of course, the three important matches that affected that were the Cardinals against the Seahawks. The Cardinals had a simple objective: win, and they would still be alive for the NFC West crown. Lose, and they would be locked in as the number 5 seed. In the end, the Seahawks went into Arizona, and in a pretty good game between the Seahawks and Cardinals, those teams tend to get each other on the road. The Seahawks pulled off a road victory in Arizona and a very disappointing season on a high note, which led us to the final two games. This would be the Rams, who were fighting to remain in the second seed, against the Niners, who were fighting for their playoff lives, thanks to the result of the Saints and Falcons game. The Saints comfortably beat Atlanta, and because of that, the pressure was all on the Niners to win and get in, and well, that was a very good game, and that was crazy. The Rams jumped out to a 17-0 start. The Niners got three going into halftime, but the second half was where it got wild. Um, just to, I guess I'll keep going on this one. To keep going here, the 49ers were able to tie the game with a couple touchdowns, including a trick play Debo Samuel pass to, I believe it was Jennings, who had a very good game. To equalize, the 49ers then were able to get a very good drive going, only for Jalen Ramsey to get a crazy interception off a couple tips. The Rams drove down the field, had a go ahead touchdown, and in the 2 minute drill, the 49ers looked tired a few moments, but they came up big and they got their big touchdown to equalize the game. Cooper Cup chasing the record. Um, he actually had the go ahead for the Rams, and I think the Niners. I don't think he got the touch. He might have. I think it might have been Jennings got the touchdown. I don't remember who got the touchdown, but I know Debo Samuel had that really big play. Um, but yeah, Cooper Cup chasing the record got close and came 18 yards short. In overtime, the Niners had a very lengthy drive that ended in a field goal. And afterwards, the Rams tried to move down the field, but Stafford got picked off and came short in the big moment. The Rams would still win the NFC West, but drop from the second seed in the conference to the fourth seed, which was where, even despite playing for very little, Tampa and Dallas both successfully moved up in the standings. And for the 49ers, they make the playoffs, knocking off the New Orleans Saints. So yeah, that's the NFC picture. But I think for as fun as that was, it definitely paled in comparison to the AFC picture. So on Saturday night, the Chiefs took care of the Broncos in a game that shouldn't have been as comfortable as it for that. It was not comfortable for them at all. Big defensive play to go ahead and take the win. And Link, that meant the ball was in the Titans' court to clinch the 1 seed. So you could walk us through what happened there.
The ball was in our court, and we almost fumbled it against Houston, as it was really a stressful game to watch, which shouldn't have happened. But just running through the game, really nice, really excellent first quarter. We're up 21-0 going into halftime. Then Todd Downing literally tried to throw this game away. Just went run pass offense for three straight possessions, all ending in 3-and-outs, and Houston crawling back into the game with Dave Mills actually looking not too bad. But like alright, I'm sorry. But
I'm sorry.
It was weird too, because the Texans are notoriously a horrible second half team, and we just let them crawl right back into the game. And within 5 minutes to play, it's a 1-score game. Now, I mean, however, that changed because the offense finally made an explosive play. But I mean, this was a weird. I mean, this was scary. Very scary to watch. I don't know what's with the Titans in these really weird games where we have everyone looking and like we have actual stakes at the hand, and just it happened last year with the same team too, Houston. Remember the doink in the field goal. That's how we punched the AFC South. So it's kind of the same thing that happened this year, but Titans, they ended up winning the game. Really improved on no turnovers from Tannehill, which is always a good thing, a positive thing, especially going into a playoff game. Or I shouldn't say playoff game because we're not playing this weekend. Should mention with the win, we got the first round bye, first time since 2008. And also another good news: Henry potential comeback during the divisional round game. Really exciting, but I'm wondering how we're gonna have to. I don't know how we're gonna if we're gonna readjust the offense to give Henry more of the load, or we're gonna keep it the same kind of 50-50 how it's been so far, or I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah. And in the meantime, with the number 1 seed going to the Titans, a couple other games in the AFC in terms of the divisions. The Bills clinched with a win over the Jets in a game that was, for a bit, a little too uncomfortable for Buffalo, but they pulled away.
Yeah, it's almost the same thing. That was the Bills, it should have been an easy win for Buffalo, but it ended up being a struggle.
Yeah.
Because I think they had the opposite problem the Titans did, where the Jets, I didn't watch it, but
the Jets kept it close early.
The Jets kept it close early, and then Buffalo started to pull away with it.
Yeah, exactly. And even if the Jets pulled off the upset, Miami actually beat New England at home as per tradition. Really sloppy, ugly game for the Patriots, and the Dolphins ended their season on a win. But At what cost? We will talk about that later. And as for the Bengals, they seem satisfied where they were with the division crown sealed. Didn't really put any of their big guns out and lost to Cleveland.
Ooh, can I talk about the Colts game? Please let me give me this privilege. Let me talk about the Colts game.
Yes, and as we were about to get to the wild card race, there
Uh,
were before I do, let's just talk about the possibilities that we had going into this. Um, the Colts basically, they had a win-in situation, but if they lost, we had a lot of chaos to be had. Um, the Ravens and the Steelers were both in need of a Colts loss, and there was a very interesting situation where if Pittsburgh won, that the Raiders and the Chargers could take a tie to both go in over Pittsburgh. However, let's start with the thing that was needed to happen for all of that, and I'll let Link take it away. The Colts going to Duval.
oh, yes. Man, I wish the Colts would play at this every week. Honestly. Like, amazingly. Somehow, the Colts still have not found the way to win in Jacksonville. Like, that is the trap game for them. That's the guaranteed loss. They can't go undefeated any year because they will lose in Jacksonville 1 week. But very interesting game. I mean, there was a lot of hoopla about it. The Jaguars faithful were going to dress up as clowns in protest of ownership and not,
Their general manager, Trent Baalke, I think.
Oh, yeah. Trent Baalke, which, you know what? Good on them. I had a lot of jokes lined up for it, with the whole Jaguars fans dressing as clowns. I mean, I can make so many jokes about that. I could just say, oh, wow, they're going to dress up as Colts fans. Oh, they're going to dress up as Texans fans. Or, oh, they're just going to wear their jerseys to the game. But enough of that. Let's just talk about the game. The Colts just did not get off to the greatest start. And, after the first half, it just didn't get any better. Carson Wentz really did not perform well in the clutch. For some reason, all right, so I'm going to, just say this. So, I don't know what was the deal with it, but Jonathan Taylor got just not a lot of carries this game, and I don't know why. He's been one of the four factors of, the successful offense. And he only got 15 carries in this game. Like, they did not feed him the ball a lot, but yet they let Carson Wentz throw the ball 29 times. I don't understand what was the game plan going into this, but, I mean, do what you want. It's your funeral, and it was their funeral because they lost the game. Just a really embarrassing loss by Indianapolis. They had it right there. They just needed to win, and they were guaranteed a playoff spot. But they did not, and they lose to one of the most just biggest train wrecks of the 2021 season, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Good for Jacksonville. I mean, they ended the season on a high note, a win.
Got the first pick.
And got the first overall pick, even with the win.
And Trevor had a really, really nice game.
Yeah, he did. He had one of his better games of the season. But
he made that great touchdown pass off that terrible snap. Man, I was still rewatching that like 3 days later. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
Marvin Jones.
It really shows that Lawrence isn't a lost cause. And that's good.
Would have thought. Would have thought being with Urban Meyer for one season doesn't make you a bad quarterback if you're a generational prospect.
Yeah.
There you go.
So yeah, just an humiliating loss for the Colts. Jonathan Taylor, you are not the MVP of the league this year.
Tragic. Even though wait, hold on now. Wait, he's no longer the MVP. I thought, what happened to the MVP talks?
I just wanted an excuse to not have it be Rodgers or Brady, if I'm being completely honest.
Any excuse to not make it Rodgers, I do not care.
Oh, okay. Well, I will excuse it. Why not?
You don't understand it, Link. You don't understand. You don't understand like Salt and I do. You don't get it.
All right.
He might understand the Brady part if we're being honest. Even though the Titans gave it to him the last
Titans
time.
ended his Patriots run, so I mean, at least he's got that.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
that's something to celebrate. But with that, there was new life for teams like the Ravens and the Steelers who went head to head in another close matchup for a playoff spot. A very injured Ravens team that had no corners at one point in this game and was starting Tyler Huntley was able to stay in with it with the Steelers, which tells you a lot about the Steelers, who went into Baltimore and struggled, but in the end, in overtime, the Ravens weren't able to get any points, and the Steelers drove into field goal range and got the victory with a Boswell kick, which meant that with that, the Ravens were out, and we had a very, very, very exciting game on our hands
You know,
between.
talk about like such a a letdown. The Ravens, they like you said, they've been hammered by injuries this year, and it really sucks because I will say I hate the Ravens as much as the next guy, but this team should have made the playoffs. But unfortunately, just Christ, everyone got injured this year.
Yeah, I mean Lamar, Humphrey. And then you talk about the preseason guys, Peters and Dobbins. I mean Bateman was hurt for so long. I think Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews were the only ones that stayed healthy. I think Ronnie Stanley, he got hurt. Like everyone just got hurt. Um, but I guess with that we were set up for a classic Sunday night football match between the Raiders and the Chargers. There were three outcomes that we can get here. The Raiders win and they're in, the Chargers are out. The Chargers win and they're in, and the Raiders are out. The Raiders and the Chargers draw level, equal, and both teams get in, and the Steelers are out. Now, logic would tell you, why don't they tie? Well, it's simple. You look at the Raiders situation, and if they tie, they may be in, but they play the Chiefs, who have really given it to the Raiders this year. And if you're the Raiders, I don't think you want to play for that tie. Um, as for the Chargers, I believe they would have gotten the. I think with a tie, they would have gotten the Bengals. If I remember correctly, it would either have been the Bengals or the Bills. Um, so, anyways, with that, the Raiders got off to a very quick start, and from that point, we're leading the whole game. The Chargers were able to drive down and keep the game alive. Herbert was king at converting fourth downs, and my God, was that a wild set of just touchdowns that he got there to bring him back in. And on the final play of the game, regulation, when it all came down to it, Herbert converted for a big touchdown, and the Chargers tied the game and went to overtime. Um, Honestly, had the tie not been a viable method to get into the playoffs, I have a feeling that Brandon Staley probably would have considered going for two there. But obviously, with that, the Raiders got the first possession of the game, got a field goal off a quick strike. Chargers were able to. They took some more clock off and got a field goal of their own. Then the Raiders kind of had a lengthy drive. They seemed more intent on just getting the ball, moving it down the field. They didn't really care about the pacing. It was just about ball control. And if they could win the game, yeah, they'll win it. But if the ball control gets into a tie, they're happy just going to the postseason. And, well, Brandon Staley committed what could have been a big error, calling a timeout when it seemed like both Derek Carr and Rich B also said that the Raiders were content, that timeout altered their strategy, and the Raiders were somewhat content with not being too aggressive to going to the win prior to that. Meaning that, yeah, they would have still tried to win the game, run Jacobs in to field goal range, but they weren't going to be hyper aggressive. Their main goal was protecting the ball so the Chargers can't take over and win the game. And with that timeout, they got aggressive with the run. I think it was and Jacobs got him into range, and in the end, Carlson hit the walk-off kick, which sent the Raiders and the Steelers. Well, at that point, the Raiders were already going, but with that, it sent the Steelers into the playoffs along with them and knocked the Chargers out, and that's a wild affair.
Dude,
Poor Chargers, man.
One of the greatest playoff chokes in history. Well, it wasn't even it wasn't a playoff game, but
That's how impressive it is. It wasn't even in the playoffs.
Like, the Chargers will always be known as a bad luck franchise, and a franchise plagued with just choking and losing close games. I mean, it's been like that for a good time of a good majority of the regular season for them this year. I mean, a lot of their wins and losses are within like 4 points or 3 points.
Yeah. I mean, they had a lot of crushing losses this year. I mean, the overtime loss to Kansas City, just losing to Houston in general.
And this is the most crushing loss of the season because, I mean, they didn't have to lose to get into the playoffs. They had to tie, and for some reason, Staley got like scared or something, even though the Raiders, after the 2-minute warning, were only calling running plays just to burn clock, which was, the strategy, as they were willing to play for a tie until they called the timeout.
Yeah, they just wanted to protect the football. They didn't want to give the Chargers the chance to win.
But man, what a that's what a complete bonehead move, because like the Chargers this year, kind of like they should have made the playoffs.
They should, yeah. They were a very good team, and the fact that they missed it is insane. The fact that the Steelers are there and the Chargers aren't is insane to me. You think of all the luck that's like gone the Steelers' way this year and it's gone against the Chargers. It's almost kind of crazy to think about.
There's a like the AFC just in general, I guess, like, because I think that was the last game of the week 18, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like you could say it about a lot of the AFC teams. We already talked about the Ravens. You look at a team like the Browns, they had expectations this year. But it seems like they've thrown it away, as now they're having a crisis over Baker Mayfield being the guy, if they don't know if they're the guy or not. Miami almost made the playoffs, even though they started the year 1-7.
Yeah. They were in a spot for a week.
Heck, the Broncos managed to get like to week 17 before they were officially eliminated. Like, the AFC was weird this year.
Yeah, it was definitely very weird. There was points in the season where it looked like what's going on with Kansas City. I mean, like, there was a point in the year when I thought, man, Buffalo was gonna run this conference. There was a point where I thought, before Derrick Henry got hurt, oh my God, Tennessee is looking very good. It's so much so much changes. I mean, it began early in the year when Lamar Jackson was hot. It was like, man, they're getting all this luck and they're winning games convincingly. It's like, I gotta believe in the Ravens, and it's like the power dynamic of the conference was just never settled until Kansas City just started to get hot, really. Even then, the Bengals now, they're surging. When it was looking at like a rough period, and at one point they were still chasing Baltimore, who after they were like 8-4, they just lost out, in a large part thanks to Lamar Jackson not being there, and another large part just due to the rest of the injuries on the team.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, we have a playoff picture. I'll just name the teams off, and the matchups and the seedings. But then before we talk about each team specifically and do a little matchup preview. We have some coach firings. Now, traditionally, it's all on Black Monday. That's the term. However, these firings, some of them were more spread out than others. We had some that came a little later in Houston and New York, particularly. We had some expected ones, had some surprises. We had some guys that were already fired. But for the sake of the discussions, we're going to ignore the Raiders opening right now because, well, they made the playoffs, and there's a very good chance they could just promote Rich Bielsa to their full-time head coach. But we'll see what happens. Let's see what happens with their playoff run first and whatnot. But let's get over it. Let's start with we'll start and just discuss each opening. So the first firing of the weekend was Vic Fangio, who technically that was announced on Sunday due to the Broncos playing on Saturday. He will probably get another crack at being a defensive coordinator. He's just not suited for that head coaching role. I think he will be a very hot defensive coordinator to sign. You look at the recent successes of Todd Bowles and Dan Quinn as motivation for teams to chase Fangio. But yeah, it just didn't work out in Denver. He got some really good defenses there, but they can just never get their franchise quarterback, even when they had the chance to. The next firing, Mike Zimmer out of Minnesota. I know Steven had Minnesota as a preseason, postseason team. To say I even thought Minnesota would be better than they were this year, but I think we can all agree that they did not live up to expectations.
Nah,
they lived up to expectations. They were around 500.
That's fair,
but the road to get there was
tumultuous.
I mean, there was definitely some games. I mean, losing to Detroit should already be a fireable offense in the first place. But there's a couple other games that I can't really. I think it was the what game?
There was the Cowboy game. That one I was like, man. After that game, I was thinking Mike Zimmer shouldn't be having an NFL job right now or as a head coach. Because
I've always felt like Zimmer was a dead man walking, like since the day he was hired. I don't know. I mean, it's just that team has just gone nowhere forever. And I mean, they landed a unicorn a unicorn of any possible luck you could get with getting Justin Jefferson, who's one of the best wide receivers in football, as late as they did. But I just felt like he's been a dead man walking for so long. They never really change. I mean, it's just the same thing year after year. Same projection, like Link said, around 500. I'm always optimistic because I don't hate Kirk as much as the rest of the crowd does. But I mean that's it. I mean it's just it's hard to really change the regime for that squad. But Zimmer just was not the guy, and it was so clear for so long.
And speaking of the regime, General Manager Rick Spielman was also fired. So Minnesota is looking for completely new change. And speaking of NFC North teams that are going through a completely, new set of general manager and head coach, Steven, take it away.
Yeah, Bears, they finally pulled the trigger on getting rid of Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. Can't say it was a surprise to most people. Pace is kind of up in the air there at the end. There was, some people thought he was going to stay. I mean, like there are always conflicting reports. I mean, there have been reports on those too since week 3. There was stuff I remember reading from the same reporter. There was a report that Pace was going to stay and then Pace was going to get fired. So I was like, you know what, take the wheel. God, whatever happens, happens. But Nagy being fired was not a surprise. Pace being fired, I mean, it signals. It feels kind of like the Bulls, where it signals that ownership, who feels complacent from the fans' point of view, kind of wants that total overhaul. Unlike the Bulls, I'm not sure if this is going to end up as well for the Bears, considering their previous history. But I mean, hey, it's you got to be optimistic with this kind of potential change. So I mean, so yeah, I mean Nagy, he's been here for 4 years since the 2018 season. I believe that's since the 2018 season. Successful first year, granted on a pretty easy schedule, but very good team. The Bears were in 2018. Just couldn't get it done in the playoffs. They were kind of that was kind of an upset against the Eagles, the wild card round. After that, just couldn't really replicate it. Mr. Trubisky never really worked out. They tried their hand with Nick Foles and then Andy Dalton, and then this was Justin Fields' rookie year. So people were optimistic that the system was going to turn around with a more talented quarterback. That did not happen. There was just a lot of problems going on. The offense was still very ineffective. Allen Robinson suffered significant regression. Granted, not doing a lot on his part to change it, but definitely not schemed very well. And Fields had his flashes, but really it was not a system built for him. So it was time to go.
It felt like Allen Robinson just didn't care.
Allen
Almost.
Robinson's been a dead man walking since the guy signed the contract. Man, he's just been playing for the Packers. So I'm getting ready for him to sign there in a 1 year deal. But yeah,
You could
for
steal
me
Devontae
honestly,
Adams from them.
yeah. I'll gladly take that swap. Gladly. For me with Nagy, I'm pretty confident he's going to get hired again as an offensive coordinator. And honestly, I could see him in the head coach, kind of mix, like even as soon as 2 years from now. I mean, like look at Dan Quinn. He's getting interviews again, and dude just got fired a 6 year run in Atlanta that ended disastrously.
To be
And
fair, he
the
did take
team's
him to the
already
Super Bowl at one point.
okay, fair, but granted, the end there was very very rocky.
Yeah,
And there's a reason. There's a reason. Most fans are very sour when they hear his name. But I mean, hey, history is very. People forget stuff very quickly. That's basically the lesson from this. So I think he's gonna be just fine. I think he'll get a coordinator job. I think he could be in the head coach mix very soon again. It kind of just depends. I'm glad the guy's gone. I think it's good for both sides, and optimistic for the Bears. We'll see. We'll check back in the off season, but hey, you got to be optimistic right now.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, pretty crazy. We're in Chicago. Like, I was not expecting Pace to get fired. I was expecting
Yeah,
it to
I
be
that
Lenny
that
Nagy.
surprised me. I'll be candid. That surprised me.
So it'll be interesting to see where the organization goes. The thing that worried me, because I want to see the Bears succeed, is that apparently they're with. I think it was Phillips. He was being interviewed. They asked if their new candidates have to like Justin Fields, and he seemed very. He didn't seem. He did not give an answer that inspired confidence. He
That
seems like he.
really that really just seemed to me like it was like fishing for headlines, though. Honestly, because I mean, like people are gonna say that, but I mean, this is the guy they put total faith in year one. They gave 2 first round picks for the guy. I mean, there's no way they're gonna give up on him until for another 2-3 years at least. So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not taking it too seriously, but I mean, yeah, it was it was like really, but still, I'm not taking it too seriously.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, and speaking of kind of like some shockers, I mean, the shocker of the head coach firings had to be in Miami with Brian Flores. Um,
Honestly, it surprised me, but reading into it more, it really felt like it was gonna happen. Like
yeah,
I would
from
have
what I
totally thought
can
it was gonna
tell,
happen.
he had a power struggle with general manager Chris Greer, and I actually wrote about the Dolphins and their situation when they were like 1-4, 1-3, 1-4, and I was saying how I was talking about. I kind of wrote about it that I like Flores a lot, and I think that he's the only reason why Chris Greer hasn't been fired yet. And looks like Chris Greer won the power struggle with Brian Flores, which they fired the wrong man, I think. Because you look at that 2020 class, 3 first-round picks, Tua Tagovailoa, Austin Jackson, Noah Bignagne. So a quarterback who basically is on his last chance next year, most likely. An offensive tackle who hasn't looked very good and has been moved out for offensive guard and still hasn't looked very good. And a project corner who has been healthy scratched a lot. Uh, are you sure that you fired the right guy in Miami? Uh, Flores himself, he's going to see many opportunities. He'll be a head coach next year, I feel like. And as long as
I
he
Keep going, keep going.
As long as he doesn't take a certain opening that we'll talk about next, I do hope that he succeeds with that opening. There are a lot of
Yeah,
places. There are a
yeah.
lot of places I could see him go. I mean, I like Minnesota, I like Chicago, I like hell. If Houston wants to bring him in, I could see it, and we'll talk about that in a second. Uh,
I yeah, I want to preface this real quickly saying that I wouldn't mind Flores at all if he were the coach of the Bears, but I don't know, just reading into it, I thought he had a lot less control in terms of team management than he did. Apparently, I mean, from what I heard, they gave him the reins and a lot of stuff, and obviously, his relationship with his strained relationship with Tua was well documented before. But even in the draft and everything, it did seem like he had at least partial control over those moves. And so at the end of the day, like you said, Salt, there was that kind of power struggle. But I don't know. It seemed like Miami was ready to move on more than I would have thought, like going into it. So
yeah,
I do kind of understand why he was fired. And I do kind of see that negative. I do kind of see why some people aren't as big fans of him as you are. Um, but I honestly, give the guy a good. He's definitely the guy who can lead a team for sure. No question about that.
he's gotten so much out of teams that should be so much worse than they should be. So I think
Yeah,
that with Flores, he'll be a great hire for whoever gets him. I think the Bears hire him. They need to get an OC, a very good OC along with him. And there are candidates that could work. But speaking of with that in mind, now that Miami is an opening, I have a feeling that team's going to take a tumble next year.
yeah,
Uh, but moving on,
we'll see.
the Giants, they dragged this one out a bit longer than their fans would have liked, but they finally got rid of Joe Judge, to my disappointment. I was really hoping, oh my God, he's actually going to stay. He's actually going to stay. Let's go. He's actually going to stay. But no, he got fired. And I mean, he was awful this season after, I mean, Giants fans love the man in year one. Maybe too much because, yeah, 6-11, well, I ruined what I was going to say. Yeah, getting within a game of the division is cool, but you were 6-11. Why are you parading this so much? And it was a disaster of a year. I mean, this man QB sneaked twice on like a second and third and 9 to give the punter breathing room.
Yeah, on their
Yeah,
own 3 yard
he was
line.
very bad. I
He
mean, I still remember the day he was hired. Like that was such a weird move. Like I didn't even know I swear to God, I didn't even know who he was when he got hired.
Yeah, that was crazy. And if I remember, it was because the Giants were left scrambling because they really wanted Matt Rule, and the Panthers just offered him so much money for him to not even get an interview with New York just to get him to sign on the dotted line. Matt Rule could be on the hot seat next year, but that's a discussion for another time.
Definitely a
Uh,
guy who, if he gets fired, will be a great OC. But yeah, discussion for another time.
but yeah, I mean,
That's the kind of pick.
with the uh, with what happened in New York, time to move on. This was the team I was talking about. Flores. That's the one time I just won't root for him because I won't root for a division rival to do well. But um, it's a two high draft picks and a chance to mold the organization and the business in your own vision in a big market. Giants opening will be intriguing to see who they get. As for the last opening, go down to Houston, Texas. David Coley today got fired. I believe that the Texans are going to gun for their own candidate. From what I can tell, it was more of a throwaway job this season.
He was
And
set up to
Coley,
fail, dude. Like I can't.
yeah, and Coley, I think he overachieved with the roster, which is good for him. But I think that in reality, Casario and company just wanted to have a guy to guide them through this one season, which happened to be the case. And after guiding him through the one season with their own draft pick back, potentially more with Watson being traded, potentially. I mean, it's a much more intriguing job again. You're in a big market in Houston. even if you are in the shadow of a Dallas Cowboys team. But it's interesting. I do feel like they will make a run at Brian Flores, and the interesting thing, if they do make a run at Brian Flores, is that he has a very good relationship with Deshaun Watson, and he could be the one guy that could keep Deshaun Watson with the organization, possibly. Will he? I don't know. They're also looking at Jared Mayo. I've heard some Josh McDaniels rumors. The obvious theme here is that Casario is looking at guys he's familiar with from his time in New England. Uh, so we'll see what happens with that. But beyond that, those are the head coaching. That's it's going to be the carousel. Obviously, the Raiders, they're in the mix there. The Jaguars, they're in there. And just to go through some of the hot prospects who could be hired, Byron Leftwich, offensive coordinator of the Buccaneers. Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator of the Cowboys. Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator of the Cowboys. Doug Peterson, former head coach of the Eagles. Of course, we have Brian Flores, former head coach of the Dolphins. Jared Mayo, linebackers coach for the Patriots. And there are some other guys as well. I believe I'm forgetting his name here. Eric Bieniemy, he never gets hired, but his name will always be in the mix. Same thing goes for. Same thing could go for Brian Dowell. We'll see if he gets hired. His name is not as hot as it was last year, but certainly a name that could still get hired. Especially maybe particularly looking at the Dolphins, knowing that he has been an offensive coordinator for Tua before. And with Brian Flores and Tua having a deteriorating relationship, they may look to hire a Tua guy. We'll see. But with that out of the way, it's time to get to the dance, to the postseason dance now. So would you guys like to start with the AFC or the NFC?
Go with the NFC.
Let's start with NFC. It's more boring.
You think what about you? What are you thinking, you're like?
Yeah, I said NFC. Let's do.
All right. So I would call the NFC more boring. I think the NFC is the superior conference this year.
For me, it was like just in terms of the matchups. I feel like the NFC. I'm more. I think there's gonna be less upsets.
Fair enough. So let's start with the NFC 7 seed, and I think everyone's surprised here, it's the Philadelphia Eagles, who, they just bounced back from an absolute nightmare season. And, we were talking about the Colts and Carson Wentz. Well, it looks like he was the problem in Philadelphia last year. More than Doug Peterson was, though he had his flaws. And, well, Nick Sirianni, the new head coach, when he got it together and really played to the Eagles' strengths, they started winning games. Now, there's a big caveat to the Eagles this year, and it's that they have not beaten a postseason team at all this year, a feat that even the Detroit Lions were capable of pulling off. But they have a good interior defensive line. They have some good pieces on the defense, like Darius Slay. But the main strength of the team is the offensive line and the run game. Obviously, Sirianni, once he fully tapped into that, the team got much hotter. I'm not sure if he's back, but there's obviously guys like Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, and that running back room. Jalen Hurts is a very capable runner, and he's protected by a very good line still with the Iron Man, Jason Kelsey. Jordan Malatia is a good left tackle to have, and obviously, in terms of weapons, the main two guys he has to throw to are Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. Of course, two infamous draft picks are still with the team, Jalen Reagor and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, both who are still very much disliked by that fan base, and of course, bit of an emerging number 2 guy, and probably not the guy they want to be their number 2 going forward, but still, Quez Watkins, who's looked good going deep. It is a surprisingly positive year in Philadelphia. They're gonna have 3 picks in April, but yeah, they are the surprise playoff team. I think we can all agree on that, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a team that I think we were all pegging them in as a bottom feeder, a team that would be one of the first 5 picks maybe this upcoming draft, but they didn't end up being that.
It ties back to what I was saying about Hurts earlier, and I kind of had to eat crow there. I was not very confident he was going to be able to lead that team, and I mean, obviously, still have questions, sure, whatever, but like, I mean, he definitely was a lot better than I think a lot of us thought he was going to be. And I think his weapons played relatively well. I don't know,
Yeah.
they got hotter towards the end there. It felt like, but I mean, yeah, you got to give them credit where credit's due.
Jalen
They
Hurts.
squeaked in.
Jalen Hurts definitely bought himself another year, maybe more, as that guy in
I
Philadelphia.
would say, yeah. I'd say maybe more, honestly.
Yeah, we'll obviously see how the future holds for him, but a very promising year indeed. Um, as for the number 6 spot, it was a much rockier season than many of us would have thought, but the San Francisco 49ers, they needed they needed to go to an overtime on the final week of the year to get it done, but they are the um, 6th seed of the NFC. Obviously, even though Philadelphia clinched earlier due to the earlier Week 2 affair, they would jump them for 6. Um, I believe if New Orleans, no, never mind. They would have. Well, no, yeah, okay. I was about to overcomplicate things. If in a New Orleans scenario, who cares about that? It's over. Uh, the Niners are a good team. They're playing Dallas this upcoming weekend, and they kind of scare me. I can't lie. They can run the ball very well. With Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson Jr., they've been running it to Debo Samuel, who, as a wide receiver, along with George Kittle, but Kittle hasn't been fully healthy the whole year. So mainly Debo, he's been the heart of that offense. Extremely dominant, amazing after the catch. And opposite him, Brandon Ayuk, who's gotten a lot more of a workload finally later in the second half of the year after not really being given snaps to start. Pretty talented receiver, though obviously not the star of the show that Debo Samuel is. And you got Juwan Jennings, who he's quietly emerged as a good wide receiver 3 and really took over that last Rams game. And their offensive line is solid. I mean, it's led by Trent Williams, who's expected to be back for the Dallas game, who is one of, if not the best left tackle in the league. Of course, that offense is going to need Jimmy Garoppolo to at least get him play reasonably well enough to win them games. Jimmy has his ups and downs, and he's solid. Absolutely a bit injury prone, but he is a solid quarterback. And should something happen, they do have the promising Trey Lance to fill in. Though it does seem that Lance in a playoff game, not what you want this year. So could be a very interesting thing to see in the future. Could be a show. But on the other side of the ball for the Niners, they have a very amazing, D line. Nick Bosa and Armstead coming off the edge. In the linebacker group, they have Fred Warner. I have that breakout guy. I forget his name. It's like Al Aziz. I don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah, I forgot his name too. Crap. But yeah, he was
Um
really solid this year.
they have Jimmy Ward at safety, I believe. I think he's healthy. Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of someone else who might be hurt. That corner room, though, in San Francisco is very weak, and the interior defensive line isn't as strong as it has been in years past. But it's better than it was in that injury 2020 season, but it definitely has its struggles. But yeah, there is no, DeForest Buckner coming through the middle, but still a very good team coached by Kyle Shanahan. And yeah, I mean, the Niners this year definitely much rockier season than expected, but they came through at the end and made it to the dance, and they have that boomer bust feeling about them. They could very easily have their season ended in Dallas, but they could also just as easily be playing for the NFC Championship in a few weeks. It's kind of crazy to think about the upside that they have if
A
everything
lot of
clicks.
variance.
Yeah. But going on, continuing in the NFC West, number 5 Arizona, who they had a very cold ending of the year, only winning in Week 17 in Dallas. In a game that even then they needed their fair share of luck to go their way, and some stupid mistakes and timeout calls by Dallas. But for the Cardinals, they're gonna live and die by Kyler Murray. It looks like there's a good chance J.J. Watt could be back for the Rams game. As for Kyler, he's looked a little off since coming back from the injury, but good for Kyler. DeAndre Hopkins is making his return alongside with AJ Green, who's played well, and Christian Kirk. They also got Rondale Moore, and on the defensive side, you still got Chandler Jones. They still got Zaven Collins, Isaiah Simmons. They have Buda Baker, and Byron Murphy has emerged as a good corner, but obviously that defense still has its holes that can be exploited by some of the high-powered offenses that the NFC is host to. You look at a contrast, the NFC and the AFC. The AFC has a lot more dominant ground games, even with its exceptions, obviously. And the NFC, obviously, with its exceptions, we kind of talked about them with the Eagles and the Niners. They a lot more dominant passing games, and that is definitely what Arizona falls under. They are a passing, that is their, Kyler Murray is what they're going to live and die by. And speaking of an opponent that is capable of exploiting, their flaws, we have Sean McVay, the genius, and his Los Angeles Rams, NFC West champions, will be playing to advance and somewhat justify that title against Arizona. Um, they're led by quarterback Matthew Stafford, who he's had his big ups and big downs this year. He's coming off a big down. They have running back Cam Akers back in a very good offensive line. Big respect to Andrew Whitworth, 40 years old and still a great left tackle. But obviously, the star of the show on the offense this year has been Cooper Kupp, who came agonizingly close to Megatron's single-season yard records, 18 short. Congrats to him for coming as close as he did, even with the extra game. As for, the other receivers, they lost Robert Woods, but they did get Odell Beckham Jr., who's looked a lot better since being integrated into the offense. So Van Jefferson as well. As for the defensive side of the ball, not as quite as dominant as Raheem Morris I wouldn't say has done a good job in the defensive coordinator role, replacing Brendan Staley, but they still have Aaron Donald, who's extremely dominant. Still have Jalen Ramsey. They still have some good complementary pieces like Leonard Floyd and Sebastian Joseph Day on the defense. And it's a very, very good team with a lot of talent, and of course, the addition of Von Miller. So, just a question for you guys: do you trust Matthew Stafford under the bright lights?
I was literally just about to interject and say I think their only question mark is how Stafford's going to be. Because I mean, when was the last time has he ever been? I mean, I'd
He
imagine
has
he's been
been
in
in
the
the
playoffs, but I can't
playoffs
remember the
three
last time.
times, and he's been there 3 times in his career. He's been eliminated all 3 times on Wild Card Weekend.
Oh boy. I mean, towards the end of the year, there it was rock. I mean, even like last week, it was really rocky. Good season for sure for the guy. I'm not going to deny that, but man, there's a lot riding on this, and I and it's gonna be tricky. I mean, for him to rock. I mean, he it. I'm losing my mind over here, but it's so hard to project guys who have veteran status, but just have never been to the playoff or have rarely been to the playoffs, and in his situations have been eliminated as much as he has.
Yeah.
So I don't know, showing up against a Cardinals team who, I mean, Kyler doesn't have as much playoff experience either, so that might help him out. But again, this is a Rams team you're looking for a Super Bowl run out of. This is not a Rams team you're looking, for a wild card win, get to the divisional round and lose and say, hey, man, at least we got here. Lose, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna be it. So it's in that sense it's gonna be a long road, especially since he's gonna have to go through Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau, which is gonna be
Most
the ultimate
barring
challenge.
barring any
If he wins,
with
beats
the
Arizona.
barring any upsets with another couple matchups.
Oh yeah.
Because that could.
Barring upsets, but plausibly a guy is gonna have to go through Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a tumultuous road. Ultimately, I don't know. I trust their offense to scheme around him really well, and there were some high points for them. There were some low points, but I mean, Sean McVay, he's shown us before he did the playoffs. I mean, look at what he did with Jared Goff, who's had in 2018 a really similar season to Stafford. So I mean, I trust him to lead at the very least if I don't trust Stafford.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Link? Are you putting your faith in Stafford to make a run here?
Well, all right. So you look at all the games he's played so far this year under the lights. You could even see it too. As soon as the lights turned on at this past Niners game, yeah, it was over. It's all over from there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
he threw a pretty gnarly interception to end the game. So like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. This Rams team is destined for greatness. I feel, but like, I'm not sure if I can think Stafford's gonna be that one last piece on a Super Bowl run, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that is that's it is like that. I don't know if I trust Stafford. I don't want to doubt him though, but I don't know if I can put the faith in him that I can put in Kyler Murray, which is going to be the decisive thing with their matchup. But if he can play well, if Stafford has a good game, gives the Rams what they need, they should be able to take care of Arizona. But you never know what can happen, But they also the big thing is that they're going to have the advantage on the coaching side. And the thing with the Rams and the Cardinals is that both teams kind of like the Niners. They have a lot of boom, but they have a lot of bust, and someone's going to have to bust between those two teams. That sounded weird, but one of the Rams or the Cardinals got to go, and they're going to do their damnedest to make sure it's not themselves. But moving up a spot, we go to the number 3 seed, to the Dallas Cowboys, who it's been a bit of a roller coaster of a year. A bit of an interesting year for the Cowboys, who, in terms of point differential, are the top team in the NFC. In a large part thanks to just absolutely dominating every division game they've played. Um, And even in some other games, they have still, been in the driver's seat just the whole way. Um, I think with the Cowboys, it all starts with Dak Prescott and how he performs because he's had his ups and his downs. But even his downs haven't been that bad. But certainly, it's still a down from his big ups because when Dak Prescott is on his game, whenever Dak Prescott has been on that elite form, Dallas just hasn't been able, except for the opening weekend of the season, you just couldn't beat Dallas. And, well, here he is now. Um, we're gonna see what happens there. We're gonna hopefully see some great performances from him. The run game has taken a bit of a hit lately. Ezekiel Elliott's been playing hurt. Tony Pollard's been hurt, but we should expect to see the both of them doing a lot better next week. And we have a good offensive line. Tyron Smith, Lil Collins on the tackles, right guard Zach Martin, best in the league as a guard. Looks like we're going to roll with Connor Williams at left guard and Tyler Biadasz at center, who I think are both good, but I am worried about them taking penalties because they do take an annoying amount of penalties, the two of them. As for the receiving group, we lost Michael Gallup to an ACL tear that sucks, but filling in for him, Cedric Wilson, who is very good to have at that wide receiver 3 spot, has actually filled it in nicely for most of the year due to Gallup having a injury that took him out for like 10 weeks during the opener. And but the stars of the show are CeeDee Lamb, who had 1,000 this year, has been excellent, and Amari Cooper, who the unstatistical year, but has a very valuable role in taking on the double teams, and is still has that silky smooth route running, and the both of them have had their big clutch moments, getting the ball from Dak. In Amari Cooper's case, he also had some big ones in that Minnesota game where we missed Dak. And of course, the tight end Dalton Schultz has always been a good safety valve. Dak gets him a lot in those short yardage situations, even if it's not quite there, but just want to get closer to the goal, be it first down or the touchdown. Schultz, he'll find them a good deal. So, and second tight end Blake Jarwin, who's become more of a blocking guy, but still can get out there for some receptions. He's healthy again, but I think the big surprise of the season in Dallas has not been that our offense is still leading a team that is the best in scoring in the entire NFL. But the fact that the defense has stepped up so wonderfully from being one of the worst units in the league to one of the best, and a large part thanks to Dan Quinn. The story of the defense is that it is a great third down defense, and it is also a great turnover defense. And the defense is also pretty good at making those third down situations longer than they should be. If you want to have an ideal one to pick up that first. And I mean, the leader of the defense has been Micah Parsons, who's elite as both a pass rusher and a linebacker in coverage. And the other aspects of the linebacker game, stuffing the run. And I mean, he has made himself into a defensive player of the year candidate. He will not likely win it, but he's awesome. And on the other side, in the secondary, Trevon Diggs has led the league in 11 interceptions. Say all you want about his ability in coverage. His impact on the game overall is absolutely a net positive because the goal defense, it's not about the yards, it's about the points. And in the end, taking away the points is the absolute best thing you can do. In terms of that D-line, we also have Randy Gregory and DeMarcus Lawrence coming off the edges. Randy Gregory is a great pass rusher, gets in those pressures and sacks. Lawrence, good pass rusher. He gets pressures, not as much sacks these days, but is also an elite run defender. On the inside, it's been a rotating door with guys like Carlos Watkins, Oso Igazua. Of course, Neville Gallimore is back. Brent Urban is there. Obviously, we have some rotation pieces off the edge like Chauncey Golston. And in the linebacker group, Leighton Vander Esch has improved as the year has gone on. Hasn't hit the high he was at as a rookie, but still a player that has been a positive. The other linebackers have been kind of a rotating door. Keanu Neal's been kind of disappointing there. With Diggs in the secondary, specifically the corner room, is Anthony Brown, who's had his highs, such as performing very well against Minnesota, be it his assignment with Jefferson or Thielen, and his lows, like just getting put on skates by Antonio Brown, or just taking a lot of awful penalties against the Raiders. And at the safety room, we have Jaron Kearse, who's a great box safety with good coverage ability, and Malik Hooker, who is a pretty solid safety, bouncing back from all those injuries, and the safety that irritates me the most, Damontae Kazee. I can't watch this. I can't watch Damontae Kazee because he has his good plays, but he makes a lot of mistakes, and it can hurt watching him on the field sometimes. But, big props to Dan Quinn for turning his defense around. And I know I've rambled way too much about the Cowboys, but,
You deserve it.
But you know what? It's very validating to see this team be as well as it was when people are coming into question, the Cowboys aren't going to be all that good this year. Well, we've been all that good this year, but it ain't going to mean a thing if we don't win the ring. This team could definitely have its season ended on Sunday, but this team can also certainly take its season as far as the NFL does. It's just a matter of
They've
what.
been, you're looking at points allowed, points points scored. They've been as good as anyone else, really.
Yeah.
It's ultimately just putting it all together. I think their biggest question really, team permitting. Like I said, it's like I said before when we talk about the head coaching, it's a trickle down thing. And the Cowboys, they check all those boxes at the top. I think really what's their X factor is how's Mike McCarthy going to be going into this playoff run, because I think he's coached you guys in the playoffs before. Am I wrong? Am I right or am I wrong?
Against us, but not for us.
Oh, okay. So he hasn't coached yet. So yeah, this is gonna be his first time in Dallas. So I mean, we'll see how that goes. Really, I think that's what they're that's what they're looking for to really take them, because that team is good enough to compete with the best of them. In my opinion, it's just how well can they be led to do that.
Yeah.
And which in the playoffs is really all that is really what matters. It matters so much.
Yeah. And that's going to be the big thing. And because Mike McCarthy is the coach, I'm always going to have those worries. But you know what? We're just as capable as losing any game as we are as winning them, and that's the scary thing. We're gonna have to have our performances be on and on and on. We got to see that our defense can hold up as well against elite quarterbacks, and we got to see that Dak Prescott can hold up well and be consistent like he was early in the season. Not so much down the stretch, but he still had those amazing highs down the stretch. And got to see the running game improve for sure. And if Dallas can have all the factors click at once, which I would say, despite not having a fully healthy team for most of the year, despite not having every factor click at once, we're still here. And if every factor can click at once, the only thing stopping us really is ourselves. And it's crazy to think about, but it don't mean a thing if you don't win the ring, and you got to start one game at a time. And the Niners are a scary opponent for sure. Like I said, they are boom as bust as well. And I might be overusing the boomer bust label, but really it applies very heavily to teams in the NFC, because the NFC has so many teams with high ceilings. It's just that they could all go out so early just as easily. And
Absolutely.
But speaking of a team that they know what it takes, to get there and win it, get over the hump. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and where else can you start but Bruce Arians, their head coach? Yeah, he's a good head coach. I like him a lot, but I could talk about Bruce Arians and how much I like him, but let's talk about the guy that half of a lot of people believe is the MVP of the league. You could maybe say it's 50-50 split between a couple guys, which we'll talk about the other one quite soon. Tom Brady. Took way too long to introduce Tom Brady. But he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT, and he's still playing at the highest level that you could play at the age of 44?
Yeah.
He's been excellent, and it's been the cog in the machine, in the Buccaneer machine, that has kept them going through all their struggles and injuries and chaos this year. In the meantime, run game hasn't been so great. I think Fournette, I don't know if he's coming back from injury. Jones has been disappointing. They've been going with like Giovanni Bernard. I don't know if he's out or not. And they have Keyshawn Vaughn. Not a great room at the running back position. The wide receiver room is depleted. Chris Godwin is out for the year, and Antonio Brown, well, he signed his warrant, leaving midway through a game to be released by the Buccaneers. And well, they still have Rob Gronkowski though as a weapon to go to. They have a very good offensive line protecting Tom Brady. Tristan Wirfs, Donovan Smith, an elite tackle duo. Good guard duo inside, I believe. It's Kappa and Marpet, and of course the center Ryan Jensen. In the meantime, the defense hasn't been as smooth sailing as life. JPP hasn't been quite as good. Joe Tryon, rookie, growing into his role, but Shaq Barrett's been great. Vita Vea, he's been great. He's absolutely the best nose tackle you could ask for.
Devin White's also been very good.
He's had his struggles, yeah. Levante Barrett, David, he's been good, and I think he's coming back for the playoffs. Had a bit of an injury, but Devin White, and he tuned up his game significantly playoff time. So if he can do it again, that'd be big for the Buccaneers. But he struggled a lot this year. Corner room, I think Murphy Bunting is back from injury. I know Sherman is out. I think I don't know if Carlton Davis is healthy at the moment, but I do know Jamel Dean has had a pretty good year. And at the safety position, they have two very good safeties in Jordan Whitehead and Antoine Winfield Jr., who's been an absolute star. Um, and that defense is definitely still has its strengths, and if it has it together, led by Todd Bowles, it's very good. But we all know what the Buccaneers can do, and and we were talking about all these boomer bust teams in the NFC. I mean, yeah, if they don't win the Super Bowl, it's not a successful season. That's always the standard when your quarterback is Tom Brady, but there's a lot more confidence in them, even though they do have the weakest opponent of the bunch, but still a lot more confidence in them that they can go far and not implode on themselves compared to, teams like, the last few teams we talked about, Dallas, San Francisco, Arizona, LA, who all happen to be playing each other. So that will be an interesting one.
Ultimately, I think for the Bucks, they're a very deep team. It's like the Cowboys. But I think and for them, Arians obviously Super Bowl winning head coach, no doubts about him. For them, it's going to be how the wide receiver room's looking now that Godwin, who's out for the rest of the year and extended time after I think did he tear his ACL or was it something else?
ACL.
Yeah, ACL. And then of course the whole Antonio Brown fiasco, which you already touched on, Salt. So right now they're kind of rocking with Mike Evans and Gronk at tight end, which is still respectable. It's just for a team with Super Bowl aspirations, losing those two hurts.
There's
You're definitely
definitely
able to
teams.
do a lot less.
There's definitely teams that are going to be able to, they have the guys in the secondary to make them being down to just those two as the main threats that could make Tampa just really, really. They could really make life frustrating for Tom Brady, but it's also Tom Brady.
Exactly. I guess just for me, if you really don't like Mike Evans at this stage, I could definitely see people being more inclined to call him an upset. I'm not willing to do that. This team is just way too deep, their matchups are just they should be fine for now.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, that's just for a team this good, I'd say that's what that's their biggest hurdle right now. That's what they're trying to overcome, going and do it, and it'd be nice to see him add another notch on Brady's Hall of Fame belt, another ring to his fingers. But
Yeah. He wants to fill him up
we'll
for
see.
both. He wants to fill him up for both hands.
Exactly.
But of course, it's crazy. This man has more rings than any NFL franchise. It's insane.
It really is.
But of course, going on to the number 1 seed team that Tampa has been losing a lot of guys to injury. They've been getting their guys back. It's the Green Bay Packers. A name that you and I, Steven, like dread hearing, is a
Yeah.
major threat to go all the way and win ring number 5. And Aaron Rodgers is looking for his second.
Hold on. Didn't he say he may sit out the Super Bowl if they make it deep enough?
You know what? That is an interesting thing, and we'll see how that plays out if they get there. But I guess let's just
Wait,
talk
did he
about.
really say that?
Yeah, it
He
was.
said
It's,
he's
Oh my
I think he's
goodness.
like debated on it, or he's told a reporter that in protest of the Packers because he still hates the Packers organization.
no, it's because of the NFL COVID protocols.
Wait, what?
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I thought it was for. Oh, never
Dude,
mind.
I'm gonna be so happy when this guy retires, man, or leaves or does whatever. I don't really care at this point.
yeah. Aaron
Just
Rodgers.
freaking give him HGH and let him get suspended for all I care. I mean, like, just, my goodness.
Yeah, but yeah, he is the other half of the people who out there. Maybe more or less. I don't know what the popular opinion is because it could be more, but it is divided. To be the league MVP this year. He's also getting up there in years and still as dominant as ever. Of course, he has a lot of help with Matt LaFleur being one of the elite schemers. He only really has truly one elite wide receiver in Devontae Adams, who is the best in the league. But still, like when you have the highest open rate in the league, it's not all Devontae Adams carrying it. He obviously is doing his bit to get open, but you're getting guys like MVS, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb open. I mean, you're that is some masterful scheming right there. And Rodgers is getting his offensive line healthier. Josh Myers is going to be healthier. David Bakhtiari is finally back, and he looked very good against Detroit. And of course, they have the two-headed monster in the run game in Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. It's going to be very scary to go inside Packers offense that they can win with the short passing game that LaFleur loves, and Rodgers is still capable of using that arm of his and going deep and testing opposing secondaries. And on the defensive side, well, they have a lot of scary guys. Scary Gary, I'll call him, even though I don't think anyone calls him that. Rashawn Gary.
Dude,
You got
every week I just see a tweet from Packers fans because they're always updating. They're always updating the pressure count. And they're always like, "My goodness, guy, man, this guy is so good." Every single week, say we're getting Rashawn Gary pressure updates. So I don't even watch. I don't even watch him. I've watched him like twice this whole year. And then I'm just like, it's like I'm watching him religiously going through my timeline.
Yeah, it's like Rashawn Gary. He's been great for them this year in the absences of Zadarius Smith, who has been out, but he's also returning from injury, so that's a very scary duo on the edges.
He's
In
mid. I'm
Green,
afraid he's mid. He's gonna be mid. I'm afraid. Hate
you
to break it
know,
to him.
we can hope that
They hype in mid. No, but seriously, I mean, he's really talented when he's healthy, but he missed so much of the year, and he is kind of getting up there in age. I
yeah.
don't know. He might be on. He's going to be on a bit of a learning curve at being in the playoffs.
Of course, they also have Frank Clark. Wait, no, is that the Chiefs Clark? Like, which Clark is the
Yeah,
Chiefs Clark, and which one's the Frank
Frank
Clark's the
Frank
Packers
is
Clark,
the Chiefs. Frank
and
is the
then
Chiefs.
which Clark is Packers? Because I always confuse it.
Oh my
Kenny
God! So do
Clark.
I don't excuse me.
Kenny
Oh yeah,
Clark.
yeah, yeah. Kenny.
They have Kenny Clark, yeah. And so, in Green Bay they have and then of course now they're gonna have Jair Alexander returning from his injury, who, in 2020 was an amazing, elite top two corner, and he'll be back and healthy. And in his absence, they had some guys fill in solidly. Rasul Douglas, a hero with a couple games stealing interceptions, who's also played
I don't want to hear
well.
about his Mickey Mouse interceptions. I'm afraid I'm not hearing about those.
And
We're not
then
talking about him.
the first round pick Eric Stokes, who he's played well. He was a prospect I was high on.
He really surprised me. He really surprised me. I mean,
He was
I thought it's the given the Packers draft history. I kind of thought he'd be a guy who'd overperform because he was like more of a mid round pick for me going into it, or at least like I'm always scouting out the PFF big board. So anything I say is what PFF says basically. I don't care. I don't care. I'm a sheep.
You should
That's basically that's my nature.
you should have used my big board to scout Eric
Yeah,
Stokes.
I'll be using the Dr. Salt big board this year. I'm afraid PFF is cooked. But yeah, they
Yeah.
were not very high in Stokes. But yeah, very very much surprised his rookie year. I was watching. He was doing very well. Definitely going to be a solid CB2. At the very least for him. So yeah, definitely filled in very well this year as
And then, of course,
the guy with Big Kev.
They had Kevin King, who was not quite as dog shit as he was last year.
No, Kevin King gets actually underrated by Packers fans. Like they actually want his head rubs. I swear to God. Like it's like Lord of the Flies shit on the timeline every week with this guy.
Yeah, and then of course, the safety group they had Darnell Savage. He's had a disappointing year, especially in coverage, and Adrian Amos, who has continued his usual high quality play. I know that's a name you hate. It's just being on Green Bay.
You already know him and Allen Robinson next year are going to be like the Twitter best friend duo of the year.
Oh God. And then, of course, the kicker Mason Crosby has not been quite as consistent this year. Hopefully, he won't give me nightmares this time around. Please.
I don't know, man. Especially with Zerloin. I don't care what the hell
Oh
I'm
God!
not saying.
When we
I
were
don't know
talking
how to
about
say his last name. That
we
guy's
were
a
talking about
cancer.
Dallas, I should have talked about Zerline being an awful kicker. He has talked. There have been games where you could directly attribute the points he didn't get on the board to us losing. Oh, there's a caveat to one of them, the Tampa game, where it's like, whoa, if he doesn't miss the kick, then the turnover that led to the touchdown, it doesn't happen, so you can't really say much about that. But other than that, like that's just kind of what I mean there. And as for the Packers, they're a very complete team, and to many they are the favorites this year, as they were last year. But things can and have gone wrong for them when they make that NFC Championship game, and they're playing for the chance to play in the Super Bowl. A lot goes wrong for them. And will repeat. But now I guess it's time to go to the AFC, where we start with the Steelers. And who expected the Steelers to be here out of all of us? I know there's people who expected the Steelers to be here. Who out of us expected them to be here?
I can't remember if I had him or not. I don't think I did.
I don't think any. I don't
I
think
might
any
have
of us.
actually because I don't think I hated Roethlisberger or thought he was as bad until the year started.
Yeah,
But
I don't.
yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, if would have asked me midseason, I would have been like, yeah, man, dream on.
Yeah, um, definitely a crazy year for them. I mean, they had big victories against the Ravens and the Browns to ultimately be the AFC North second team in. Obviously, they got curb stomped by the Bengals in both meetings, which would that would be a division determining outcome right there.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, the Steelers, through all their bullshit, some has gone their way, some has gone against it. I mean, they've had some crazy lucky wins, against Baltimore. Um, the first Cleveland game. Uh, but they've also had some crazy unlucky results go against them, like the tie against Detroit. They didn't even have Roethlisberger. They had Rudolph, who's even worse somehow. And that Minnesota game where they just came oh so close, but yet just could not get it. And yeah, I mean, just the absolute madhouse of a season there. But the face this year has been T.J. Watt, who's equaled the sack record. And some are going to say, well, he needed the extra game to do it. But TJ Watt has missed time to injury. He's missed multiple games. So, in that regard, I mean, he kind of has Strahan beat there. Um, but, great year for him and Cameron Hayward on the defensive interior, who he's done his part and played extremely well. Um, They still have Minkus Fitzpatrick, even though he's had a down year. But on the offense, O line hasn't been great. Najee Harris, he's had his good games. But the real breakout star is Deontay Johnson, who's taken a massive step forward, fixed his drop issues, and has performed amazing. A Pro Bowl snub, in my opinion. He should have made it over Keenan Allen. And that tight end Pat Fryermuth has been solid as well. But yeah, a bit of a weird team to get in. A team that probably has the lowest expectations in the playoffs. Maybe it's Philadelphia, but not a lot to expect out of the state of Pennsylvania this postseason. If either team could win, it would be considered a very big upset. And both of them going
Yeah.
against the two defending conference champions as well. In the Eagles' case, the Super Bowl champion. But you all
Don't
want to
forget, the news today with the Steelers too is that Juju might be back uh for the matchup.
that is
Or
interesting.
at least he was practicing with the squad. I don't know if he'll be ready because it's like literally this weekend. But
Yeah.
I mean, he missed so much extended time. But they have some good weapons. It's just how well you're going to be able to play around Roethlisberger, I guess.
Yeah. Now going on to the sixth seed of the conference, a team that I think people dread being here even more than Pittsburgh, even if they are, a better team. The New England Patriots are back, and I don't think anyone enjoys it particularly. Bill Belichick is still, an amazing head coach that has led an elite defense. Guys like Matthew Judon and J.C. Jackson leading the way, but there's of course the names not quite as big that still have key pieces on that Patriots team that they're just a good complete just thinking of the roster construction, not really, the quarterback, we'll talk in a second, just the roster, just a very complete kind of team with McCourty and Duggar, Bentley, and of course Christian Barmore, a good defensive tackle. Van Noy, he's been solid this year. I did bring up Judon, has been great with production. But of course, the big thing, the story that a lot of people follow is the offense. Who they did revamp their offensive line to a degree, and it is a solid offensive line. They have some good running backs in the room with Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, and Bolden. I forget his first name. I think it's Brandon Bolden. Yeah. Um, but of course, the big story is Mac Jones' rookie success. He's been the best quarterback of his draft class as a rookie, in part due to his own just being good, and the other part, of course, you know, being in the best situation. He doesn't have
We
the
should.
highest. He doesn't have the highest ceiling, but he is a good player, and he has some good weapons to throw to, like Hunter Henry and Johnny Smith, the tight ends. And of course, the wide receivers, Kendrick Bourne, who's been really good, Jacoby Myers. And he has some other solid options that aren't great or anything to write home about, but certainly as number threes and fours. I mean, N'Keal Harry and Nelson Aguilar certainly aren't bad options. Um, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Patriots. There's certainly a lot of talent there. Um, so how are you guys feeling about like Mac Jones in this postseason?
Yeah, Patriots are like my big upset candidate because I mean Belichick's tenure. He's been able to play even when Mac Jones has struggled. He's been able to play around it so well. I mean, granted, this is a team that, like you said, Salt is deep, but I mean, without Belichick, very real chance this team is not in the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So yeah, he's been able to do that so well, and of course, his history in the playoffs. So I mean, for me, it's the perfect storm for good upset, especially being the sixth seed. Um, can't say they deserved a better or worse record. I think 10-7's pretty much where they should be, but definitely, definitely got a lot working with them and for a playoff run right here. So yeah, definitely my big upset candidate,
Yeah.
or my candidate 2 upset rather. Oh, I don't know. In case that wasn't clear.
Yeah. And Link, what are you kind of thinking about like with Mac Jones? You got faith in him to lead him
Uh,
in a deep run?
I'm not. I mean, not current. I mean, he is a rookie. Let's give that. And surprise. I mean, surprisingly, he's not the only rookie in. Or well, never mind. I can't say. I thought Joe Burrow was a rookie. Anyway, but I don't know. I mean, I think he is. I mean, he'll have a coach who's had I mean, the most experience in any playoff situation ever. So I mean, I think Belichick's gonna keep him composed, I guess, keep him on the right track of things and help lead the offense. Definitely one of the more favorable picks right now in terms of, in my opinion, the teams on the road this year, or not on the road in the wild card round.
Yeah.
Because I mean, New England did beat Buffalo. Yes, it was. I would say that game has an asterisk next to it because the weather conditions just made that game completely unplayable from a passing standpoint. But other than that, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, it's crazy to think about, He'll have his limited ceiling, but as long as the Patriots don't fall behind in any given game, which I mean they can, but they could also, with Bill Belichick, they can also avoid it. They have, the potential to let Mac Jones keep them in, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, he's just a rookie, and I bet Bill Belichick is absolutely going to keep minimizing the pressure put upon him. Uh, but it'll be interesting to see how he does and how he schemes against Buffalo. But it's time to move up a seed again, up to the number 5, where we have another surprise team. And if you remember when we did our AFC previews, what I said about this team. I wouldn't be surprised if you told me they made the playoffs, but I also wouldn't be surprised if you told me they were picking in the top 5 of this draft. Well, they ended up getting one of the extremes, and I can't say I'm surprised because the Raiders do have their strengths, and while they didn't come into this playoffs in a conventional way, smooth sailing, they probably treaded the toughest waters out there. Cool to see them survive those waters and make it as far as they have. Rich Bielsa has taken over as the interim coach in the absence of John Gruden, and he's done a kind of a mixed job, but he's done well given the circumstances, especially with what happened with Henry Ruggs, who, I mean, with that whole fiasco, really hurt the Raiders, and they really went on a skid in his absence. But Derek Carr, man, he's a great quarterback.
This has been his career year for him.
I mean, I would still say 2016, but in terms of getting through all the adversity and whatnot, I mean, you could say that in terms of just pure quarterback play, that 2016 was the best. But in terms of everything he's had to go through, this is an amazing, just amazing what Derek Carr has pulled off, leading his Raiders to the postseason. He's the heart and soul of that team. And with them making the playoffs, I mean, I think he's here to stay. He has another year left in his contract. I believe he'll be extended. I think they know that he's their guy, and he loves being their guy. He says he wants to be a Raider throughout his whole career, and he'd retire if he ever left. So I think that'll be solved quickly. And of course, they have some quality of their own. They have Josh Jacobs, a pretty solid back. And the receiving group is weakened, but they're still quality. Like Brian Edwards, they have Zay Jones played well. They have Deshaun Jackson, but the real star of that receiving group is coming back healthy. Darren Waller, the tight end, that's Derek Carr's favorite weapon for sure. And he and Waller are going to continue to be a great connection, and they could give their opponent, any opponent that they face, big problems. And defensively, the Raiders have their weaknesses, but they are led by Max Crosby, who is a great edge rusher. Um, Sack production has not been the most consistent this season. Not to the level that like elite levels rookie year, but in terms of just consistent pressure, he has been amazing, and he's great at getting pressure. Hayward Jr. has been a good corner. Of course, there is a bit of an issue with Nate Hobbs, and oh man, when I was talking about the receivers on the Raiders, how could I forget Hunter Renfrow, who's been an absolute monster. Um, he's not the most impressive. He's not one of the truly the best, but he's a solid route runner, and he's really good out of the slot. But going back to the defense, Yannick Ngakoue hasn't had his best year, but they have had some quality production out of some rookies. But like Trevon Merrick, a safety I really like coming out of college, has played very well. Um, of course, they could use some buffs at the linebacker though. Divine Diablo, I think is his name. He's given them some quality. I think they also have KJ Wright, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
Who I mean, he was a key part of those Seattle teams, and he hasn't had he's not at his best anymore, but he's certainly brought some quality into that defense. And yeah, there are places it can get better, but especially on the interior. But the Raiders defense, it has its noticeable strengths and weaknesses, and so is it offense. I forgot Hunter Renfrow, but I also forgot their very good left tackle Colton Miller, who after his reputation is down just because he had a tough rookie year, and I feel like people are going to do that with Andrew Thomas as well. But he really emerged into a very, very, very good you could say Pro Bowl quality, left tackle for Derek Carr, and he's one of the best tackles in the league, and hasn't can't say the same about Leatherwood, who's really struggled, but he's a rookie, and the Raiders' offensive line has definitely taken a tumble from last season, but it certainly still has its qualities. But all the adversity they've had to overcome. The season for the Raiders, yeah, so much has gone wrong, but being here in the playoffs after, going through so much, that is undeniably a success. So
Certainly.
big props to them. And I guess it's time to talk about their opponent, who, I mean, they are the surprise team of the league this year. Um, you know, this was a team that we all kind of wrote off, but the Bengals, man, Joe Burrow, look at what he did now. People doubted their front office with their offseason news, letting Lawson go and replacing him with Trey Hendrickson. They did not secure the acquisition of Joe Thuney, who I believe went to Kansas City, which, I mean, that pissed off a lot of fans. They did sign Reef, but it was ultimately the decision that they made to forego getting Penei Sewell to beef up that offensive line, and instead get Jamar Chase to be that elite number one receiver that Joe Burrow could lean on. And not only has Jamar Chase been that, but so is T. Higgins. And the duo of them, and in the slot, Tyler Boyd, that's a trio now. That is, as it stands with Michael Gallup being hurt, the current best healthy receiving group in the league, I would say. And obviously with stuff that's gone in Tampa Bay. Um, and Joe Burrow himself has been no slouch. I mean, he's been amazing. He's absolutely taken over and dominated some games. Yeah, has he faced some opponents at their absolute most vulnerable times? Sure, but he's still been incredible. And Jonah Williams was a quietly good protector for him. And they have some other good players like Spain protecting him, but and Reef. But I think something that doesn't get talked about you know, enough is some of the is the defensive quality that has emerged in Cincinnati. Not the best year for star safety Bates, but Von Bell's still been a good safety. But the corner group has been a lot better than expected. Chidobe Awuzie bounced back heavy outside of the Mike Nolan system. Has been a great corner for them. They've taken on some failed draft picks, guys that have not panned out and looked better in their system, even like Eli Apple and Reader, a guy that I believe they traded Billy Price for. Um, at defensive tackle on the interior, he's been really good. And Trey Hendrickson getting those sacks like he was in New Orleans. And the thing with the Bengals this year is that they've been astounding in a lot of places that we didn't expect them to be astounding in. So big props to them for having a very good season. And anything from this point is bonus. But with how good they've been lately, I mean, their fans are absolutely in the right to expect at least a victory on Wild Card Weekend. And Joe Burrow, I mean, he's been great, and Zach Taylor probably on the hot seat going into this year. League's got him in the playoffs with a division crown, and he's gonna get his extension this offseason probably. And just what a year for Cincinnati.
Yeah, they've
Yeah,
been outstanding. I mean, their offense is just it's dreamy. I mean, I remember criticizing picking Chase, or I was at least surprised. And just thinking about it now, did not expect Burrow to take the leap that he did. Did not expect Higgins to be as good as he did, as good as he was. I mean, it's just a lot went right. And I mean, this guy took their cap to him. They have a very nice future. I like Taylor. I know some people are still kind of mixed on him, but I think he's ran some excellent plays this year, and I think he's in a good position to um run this offense for the next few years. So I mean,
yeah,
their lack of playoff experience might scare some people, but
they are
honestly,
going against a team that shares that.
that is true. That is true. So
Derek Carr, I think Derek Carr is one of the few, if not the only holdover from the last Raider playoff team, and even then he wasn't in that game; he was hurt.
yeah,
So
but like in terms of making a deep run as well,
yeah,
they're definitely one of the less. But I mean, everyone has their start, so very good team nonetheless.
yeah, and I guess now we move up again to the three, and we have a team that I was, it was looking very rocky at one point, but they got it together and got the third seed, the Buffalo Bills, and they had their highs when they looked like they were the favorites in the AFC. They've had that point when there's a very genuine scare that they could have missed the postseason, and now, yeah, they're in. They made it. And they're good. They get their home playoff game against their big rival, the New England Patriots. It'll be an interesting game to watch. Uh, just like with the Rams and the Cardinals, I mean, these two teams they split the season series at both. Just like those two teams, the road team won, and now they're going to have a score to settle to advance and be, in a way, their division two representative into the postseason. I mean, yeah, the Bills are always going to be the AFC East champions, but won't mean anything if they can't win this game against the Patriots. And I mean, they got the elite quarterback Josh Allen leading the way, and he had a great game against them in Foxborough. And look for him to play extraordinary here if they want to win. He has a solid group of receivers to throw to. Stephon Diggs is amazing, and he has some emerging talents such as Gabriel Davis, McKinney, who's solid but behind, clearly still somewhat buried on the depth chart. Behind Emmanuel Sanders and I think Cole Beasley, and of course the tight end Dawson Knox has improved a good bit this year. Um, they do have some issues on the offensive line, but it is not as bad as it was during that very rocky point. And on the defensive end, they've improved. Matt Milano is still, in a lot of ways, the heart of that defense. So is that safety group. They have a great duo there. Um, the big thing, though, is losing Tre'Davious White in the Saints game on Thanksgiving to an ACL tear is going to really hurt them, as he was an excellent player. He was great, and well, they're going to have to try to do their best to get opposing wideouts shut down without him, and that'll be a tall task. But they do have that great safety help. To back them up. I believe they have it's like Poyer and I don't remember Poyer and Hyde, who have both been excellent. But in the end, it's going to be interesting to see what we have in Buffalo. Can they play? Can they execute? Can Brian DeBold? Can Brian DeBold's play calling be better? Can Josh Allen be more consistent in this playoff run? That's what we're going to have to see. And they have a lot of upside. They are, I guess I haven't really used this term for the AFC yet, but if there's an AFC team that really is the boomer bust, it's Buffalo. Because, their season could end on Wild Card weekend with a devastating loss to New England. I wouldn't be shocked. But I wouldn't be shocked either if they're hoisting the Lombardi at the end of this year. And in that regards, they are the boomer bust team in of the AFC. But now,
I was just gonna say, for me, they're kind of my trap team. Honestly, I still have my doubts. Maybe it's because they disappointed me so much during the regular season. I think we were all way too high on them to begin with. But I don't know. They feel like a trap team for being the 3 seed in the AFC, which granted isn't all that strong, but still, I think they have some questions to overcome. With their play calling, with some consistency throughout the year. A very talented team, definitely boomer bust, like you said, Salt. But I still have my doubts. Mr. Salt is currently deafened right now, so maybe I should take over for the Chiefs to start here.
Yeah, let's
all right, yeah, let's go for it. So the Chiefs are the 2 seed, believe it or not, somehow. A solid year for Kansas City. I think maybe a little bit disappointing. I think people were expecting more out of Mahomes than they got out of him. But he still had a very solid year. He's obviously a very good quarterback. But on the offensive side, Edwards-Helaire, he was good this year. I would say maybe not as good as maybe he didn't really take as much of a leap as I thought he was going to after his rookie season, which was really strong. But he was still really solid. Tyreek Hill, of course, was fantastic. I mean, no complaints there. The real story for him probably was that offensive line, which got a lot better this year. It's been a bit of a rocky road for him over time, but no, this year it's really turned around. It's been really nice for him. And definitely a plus. If you're looking to give Mahomes some more time to throw, especially because losing out on weapons a little bit more over time. But still got Tyreek Hill, still got Travis Kelce. So as long as you got those two, I mean, what can you really complain? On the defensive side, I'd say it got better from last year. I mean, granted, they were working with some poor defensive teams over the last few years, but I think their secondary saw some solid improvement. I think the guys on the front, yeah. I mean, they had a lot of pluses. Even the cornerback room was solid this year, which I mean, I don't know. You're not hearing that from the Chiefs as much, or you get some surprise.
Daniel Sorensen.
Oh my goodness! Don't get me started on that clown.
They have L'Jarius Sneed, who's a solid corner. But yeah. But I think the big show on their defense is Chris Jones, though. That's
yeah. Sure. I was gonna get to it. I'd say Chris Jones, obviously the defensive line, I'd say, is what has met expectations the most out of everyone on their team. I don't think it's regressed or progressed really too significantly. I mean, as long as they got Jones performing like he does, that's gonna be huge. The guy is outstanding. I mean, maybe Maybe not as dominant as he was a little bit in years prior, but still, it's good. It's very
he
good to great.
improved as the year went on. That's for sure.
Yeah, that too.
Somewhat reminiscent of the 2018. No, the 2019 team. Excuse me, that won the Super Bowl. Their defense had a rough start, but once the defense clicked, man, it has been very good. But obviously everything's gonna be up to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, and Mahomes, he's adapted. The offensive line, they've restructured it with Creed Humphrey and Orlando O'Brown and Thuney,
Yeah,
and
that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. It was
but
that's been their biggest surprise. At
but
least.
this year the Chiefs have been able to win games in a lot more dynamic ways. They've been able to win off their explosive play formula that has served them well in years past, and they've been able to do better with getting those methodical drives down the field and taking those drives and just getting the first down and frustrating and tiring the defense and scoring the touchdown, converting on those third downs. I mean, it's a great team in Kansas City, and they had their early struggles, but I think it is fair to call them the favorites in the conference here. Of course,
Yeah.
they're going to have a disadvantage that they have to play one more game of wear and tear compared to the number one, the shocking, somewhat surprising number one seed in the conference. Link, take it away.
All right, so the last team of the AFC, the one seed, the Tennessee Titans, via tiebreaker shenanigans. Expectations for this team going into the season were we win the South. That was like goal number one. In terms of the one seed, not a lot of people expected this to be a team that would capture a one seed. I mean, a lot of people just expect this because there were teams like Kansas City and Buffalo. While still good teams, they had rocky starts, especially Kansas City. But Tennessee has managed to hang in there. We've had battled with injuries on offensive and the defensive side, but we've pulled together.
Was your record 12-5, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
12-5. Managed to squeeze out a nice season. Like I said earlier, this is the first time since 2008, the 2008 Titans that went 13-3 and clinched the number one bye. That was a team with Kerry Collins on it, a starter. So the Titans this year definitely. I mean, it feels. I don't know why, but sometimes it feels like last year's team was better in some aspects. I will say the offense definitely, Henry definitely not being there for the full season definitely hurt us there. But also Tannehill also didn't really have. This is definitely a down year for him. He just, turned into a turnover machine. Not only do you have what.
I believe both A.J. Brown and Julio Jones spent a good chunk of time injured, right?
Right, but thing about Tannehill, so he not only had 14 interceptions of the year, but he also had 10 fumbles. Just turned into he was a lot of time he was just a liability on the field. But a lot of that has kind of contributed to the offensive line, which while good on the run against run or for the run blocking, they just cannot make a good pocket for Tannehill to work in. But other than that, you look at everything else on the team, and it's really freaking good. Our Derrick Henry is projected to come back, which, I think is almost a guarantee. I'm not sure. The last report I said it was highly likely. But even if not, we'll probably put in Foreman, who has been good as a substitute back, and also I think we'll probably put what's his name? I can't.
McNicholas?
Yes, thank you, McNicholas. May sub him for a little bit, but A.J. Brown returns as the number one wide receiving option for the Titans. He's had once again another great, excellent year. for him. I mean, Julio Jones, he has, honestly, to a lot of Titans fans' mindsets, he has underperformed. I think he's underperformed in a lot of aspects. Definitely because he's taken time. He took a good majority of the season off, but he's still there as the veteran option. He's been in plenty of playoff games before him, so there's option number 2. I mean, you got Westbrook, who's at number 3 option. I mean, he's managed to win in the absence of Brown and Julio. Managed to pull himself together as a good alternative receiver for the offense to work around. And also, that's not. I mean, we got still have Chester Rogers. We have Frisker's still. He's still. I think this was a down year for him. I'm not sure. I may be wrong on that.
Yeah.
But definitely the thing I was worried most about was the defensive side of the ball, which honestly has not really been a huge issue for the Titans this year. I mean, Kevin Byard is obviously the star of the defensive side of the ball. You know, he's a Pro Bowler. I mean, he's had a great year this year. But other than that, we also had Landry III. I mean, he's had a great year so far. He had 12 sacks this year. Very good. We got Elijah Molden, who I said was a great mid-round pick this last draft, and he turned out to be. He's been a good cornerback, good shutdown cornerback right there. I mean, you had Fulton, he didn't really play in a lot of games, but I mean, he still got work ahead of him. I know that. You know, Evans is still there. Amari Hooker, very solid defensively, gotta say.
Don't forget Big Jeff.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I haven't moved to the defensive line has been very good. Jeffrey Simmons, you know. Who am I thinking of? This is a long episode. Woo.
Yeah.
But Long Jr., all of them. I mean, Bud Dupree definitely was very I mean, considering the hype he got, definitely disappointing this year, I would say. But other than that, very surprised the Titans have made it to a 1 seed and currently still under the. I mean, to a lot of people, not the favorite of the AFC's. Like who will be the AFC team going to the Super Bowl, which is understandable. But when you look at the games, when you look at the other contenders who've in the AFC who's in the playoffs right now, you look at Kansas City, you look at Buffalo. We beat both of them. The one team we've lost to that are in the playoffs in the AFC is New England. I mean, we haven't. Well, you know, we didn't get to play Cincinnati and Las Vegas and all that. But anywho,
You also played Pittsburgh.
well, I don't want to talk about the Pittsburgh game.
I mean, it doesn't look like Pittsburgh will be coming to you though. Most likely.
Doesn't matter anyway. But, it's definitely going to be the story right now if we can actually get a home playoff win. I don't think we've had a home playoff win since
The Music City Miracle?
No. Probably no. I think it was 2002.
Okay. Because I know in their history the Titans have gone on a lot of runs on the road, but
maybe
yeah.
I'm trying to think. Yes, I think it was either 2002. I can't say 2003 because I don't think we won Division 03. But yeah, we've had home playoff. I mean, we've had some struggles in home. The past 2 home playoff games we had were against Baltimore, and we lost both of them. What do you know? But hopefully that changes here. Whoever we play.
No Baltimore to face this time.
No Baltimore to face this time. And yeah.
It'll be an interesting, picture. You're talking about not being the favorite. It's like, absolutely, you've gotten your wins over those big contenders, and the story of the Titans, wins over heavyweights and some very disappointing losses to teams they shouldn't be losing to. But in the end, it didn't cost them the top seed, which is big. And I think they are better than people will give them credit for, but it will still be a battle to make it out of the conference. And, I think, I want to just give some praise to Mike Vrabel, who, I was talking about the other one seeds coach, Matt LaFleur, and how great of a coach he's been. Mike Vrabel is his opposite number for that Coach of the Year award, and he's navigated this Titans team through all his injuries and whatnot to that top seed. He's a defensive guy as well, and that defense has been great. So big props to Mike Vrabel for getting the Titans as far as he has taken them this year.
Yep. We gonna do predictions now. I think that's all the
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah, it's time. So we'll do 2 sets of predictions. Predict the wild card round, and then we'll hear who do you think is going to the Super Bowl and who do you think is winning the Super Bowl. So we'll start with the NFC. Philadelphia goes to Tampa Bay. Who are we picking here?
I'm gonna give the win to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I believe the Buccaneers will win it. How about you, Steven?
I'm totally with you guys on this one.
All right. San Francisco goes to Dallas in a classic showdown. Who are we going with here? I'm taking my Cowboys.
Likewise.
I will go with. I don't know. The Niners have had a string of they definitely had a good second half of the year. So I don't know. It's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be one of the better games of Wild Card Weekend. I'm still gonna go with Dallas.
Yeah, it scares me, but yeah, I believe in us in the end. As for the Cardinals and the Rams, are we gonna trust the just machine that is the Rams, or are we gonna bank on the better
It feels
quarterback in Kyler Murray here?
This feels like it could be a bit of a toss up, but I don't know. It's going to be at SoFi. Cardinals had a rough stretch to end the year. Call it regression or whatever, but I don't know. Feels like the momentum's leaning in the Rams' favor for me.
I'm gonna trust that Kyler Murray is gonna pull off a victory, and I know I'm banking. I'm not banking on the better coach, and I'm not banking on the better roster, but I am gonna bank on the better quarterback. I think that the Cardinals will win in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'm also gonna give the win to the Cardinals here.
Interesting.
All right, well, that doesn't bode well for me because we'll get into that later.
All right, so let's go to the AFC now. First off, the Steelers and Big Ben on his final ride go.
Well, we didn't. There's
Oh
one more.
no! We're doing the wild card still.
Yeah,
Those are
there's
the
one more
3 wild.
wild. We did.
Yeah,
No,
we
wait,
did.
we did all.
We did
Never
all
mind. I
of them.
thought there was a.
Yeah, we did all of them.
I miscounted.
Yeah.
I thought there was 4 wild card games. Yeah.
So yeah, Big Ben on his final ride, potentially. I mean, there could be more. It's unlikely, but there could be more. Even he himself said it's probably not going further than that. But go to Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs. Are we picking Kansas City here? Are we all in agreement that the Chiefs will be the winners?
Yeah, Kansas City.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Meantime, the Patriots, they go on the road to play the Bills. This could be another epic game, just like on Monday Night Football. Who are we banking on here?
I said the Patriots were one of the better upset picks for the for wild card weekend, and I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be as wild as the last game in Buffalo because it's gonna be the wind's not gonna be at 40 miles an hour. It's gonna be cold. That's the only factor going in. It's just gonna be just cold and probably rainy. Now I'm thinking about it, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with the Patriots here.
All right. Steven,
Likewise.
who are you gonna? All right, so I'm gonna
Link and I were both I think Link and I were both waiting for the other one to go so we could just be the upset guy.
Yeah.
But I'm going. Yeah, I think I'm going with the Patriots as well.
All right. Well, I'm gonna be the one man that's taking the Bills here. I trust Josh Allen to get it done. Now 4 versus 5. The Bengals, they're looking to end a long and agonizing drought with no playoff wins against the Raiders, a team that also has a pretty long drought, just not as notoriously long. I don't think they not won a playoff game since their AFC title victory that sent them to the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers. I feel like that might have been their last one, but both teams looking to end long droughts. Is Joe Burrow gonna get it done, or is Derek Carr gonna pull off some more magic? Who are we
I
going
really
with here?
want. Part of me really wants to go with the Raiders, but I'm just not. I'm not doubting the Bengals at this stage. I'm going Cincy.
Yeah,
Breaking the run.
I think that the Bengals are gonna finally end the drought, and I think they're gonna win.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Bengals.
So now, with that in mind, who do you think will represent each conference for the Super Bowl? Who will go there? Who will be the teams that will be the matchup, and who do you think will win the matchup?
Oh,
Oh
so
my god, dude, this is so hard. Because
Out
for
of
me,
the
the NFC is like there's so much. It's like the divisional round. Like it'll be so much more clear once the divisional round matchups play out.
yeah,
But right now, it's just so tricky.
so much can change.
Um,
I mean, Dallas and San Francisco, man, that is a just crazy one. The one thing that I have, confidence to say in the NFC that I don't feel confident in either the Rams or the Cardinals' ability to make a deep run. I just um
I
I guess
understand that.
you know what, I think I'm gonna go with the Super Bowl rematch. I think we're gonna get Tom Brady is just gonna pull it out of his ass again. I think Green Bay is a better team. I think Dallas is a nightmare matchup for Tampa. So for some reason, Tom Brady is just going to get there, and I think he's going to get Mahomes again. But I think this time around, the Chiefs. No, I've been saying all year that the NFC winner is going to do it. So you know what? No, my head is telling me to say the Chiefs are going to beat them, but I'm too stubborn to give up on what I was saying the whole year. Tampa will win it.
Man,
all right. We gotta make
you know
a
what?
winning prediction. No.
All cards on the table here. All cards on the table. I saw you're the anti-Rams guy. I'm gonna be the pro-Rams guy. I don't care. I think. Okay, granted, there's putting a lot more faith into Matt Stafford than I should. A lot more faith than I should. But I feel like I got like a bold prediction here anyhow. Could very well end up being boring. You know what? My luck is terrible. We remember how the MLB playoffs went. Went 1 for 4 in the ALDS, so or in the divisional series. So all cards on the table. I honestly think it's going to be Rams Chiefs. I honestly think I'm going to go Rams Chiefs. Not, I mean, I honestly think it's too much. It's going to take a bit of a stretch, but that's what I'm going. I'm going Rams Chiefs,
Which
and
team will win?
I think the Rams. They're going to be at SoFi. They got a little momentum at that point. If it goes, it's going to be the Rams.
That's interesting.
My Super
Dude, if they get
Bowl.
knocked out in the wild card round, I'm done. I'm not watching playoffs.
Oh, you won't even watch for Dallas?
Okay, I'll make one exception.
No.
Well, we might be done by then too, so who knows? But yeah, if we're still there, you might also want to watch for
I
the
respect
Packer
it.
hate. You might also want to watch for the Packer hating.
Oh yeah, no. If the Packers are losing, I'm gonna be incessant on the timeline. It is not. It is gonna be bad.
All right, Link, let's hear what you got to say.
The Super Bowl prediction will be. I'm gonna say it's gonna be the Packers. I think they're gonna finally get it done, and it's gonna be really funny because if they're making the Super Bowl and if he holds his word, they're gonna have to bench Rodgers for Jordan Love, I guess, who's gonna be the quarterback for the Super Bowl team. And and the AFC. You know what? These past few months have been kind to me. graced my team with the World Series. Do you know what? Give me the Titans for the AFC. Yeah, especially if Henry comes back and he comes back 100% like he left off. Team once again maybe a Super Bowl contender. So Packers Titans is my Super Bowl, and who wins it? It's gonna be Titans.
Dude, you're making me wish I just picked Dallas to win the Super Bowl now.
Oh yeah. Bias is.
I'm glad we got some diversity in our picks.
Oh yeah, I'm completely 100% biased, but hey, probably by the end of Wild Card Weekend, all of them will be like completely destroyed. All of our predictions will be like destroyed.
Hey, that just isn't true because the Titans and Packers that can't get destroyed until the divisional round.
That's right. You're smart.
You went with the insurance route here.
Yeah.
You get an extra week of safety in your picks.
Yeah, but even then,
now that you said that, Link, this really feels like it's like the Dodgers in 2020 where they got memed on so bad in 28 in prior years that they just had it was just their time to win it.
Yeah.
And in that sense, it feels like the Packers are the perfect pick. So I can't really disrespect it, but man, I'm just never going to be high on that team in the playoffs.
Exactly. You just hate Green Bay.
I did too, and I don't know. I'm just like, man, Tom Brady's gonna pull some shit, and it's so weird because I would feel if Dallas goes to Tampa Bay, I would feel very confident in that. Would feel more confident in that than I am in this upcoming game. It's how confident I am in the matchup specifics, but like, I don't know. I'm like too afraid to pick Dallas out of just fear with this game, it was kind of the opposite approach on with the Dodgers, which I was just like, fuck it. We're winning. When I predicted that we're winning, we're going all the way, baby. Nah, I'm afraid. But yeah.
Yeah, good luck to all the teams wherever in going to LA or Dallas or wherever the Super Bowl is being played this year. I don't know.
Good luck to everyone except for whoever plays against us, because I want all the good luck.
Good luck to everyone except for Aaron Rodgers, who hopefully gets COVID. I'm just kidding. But good luck to all. And to all a good night.
Yeah. It's a pretty late but fun recording. Yeah, it was great. Hope you enjoyed
being
this.
able to break down teams like this, yeah.
Just another, football focused, pro football focused, but episode.
Pro football focused, but we're not biased against safeties.
We're not biased against QBs with darker skin color.
That too.
Oh God, I just got. No, don't sue me, PFF. It's a joke.
We're just messing around.
I just love Dak Prescott, and I don't like that you don't give him 99 grades on every game. Okay, that makes me sad. But yeah, this was the fun recording. So we'll see y'all in the future.
Bye bye.
So long.
Bye bye.